So we were supposed to do the post WrestleMania podcast, but Ryan, of course, is a gigantic puss, and he's all like, I can't do the podcast. All right? I'm married to my car now. I'm married to the car. He thinks he's so cool. Oh, I got my 2022 Dodge Charger Daytona edition with the fucking gooseberry seats and the spoiler and the cool exhaust. Yeah, but you think you're so fucking cool. But guess what? You want to know the reality? You want to pick up some gold digging horror? Yeah, go ahead. Drive your Charger. Been there, my friend. All right? Been there. But you want to get those hot single moms? Those quality chicks? You got to get a van, motherfucker. Get a nice, I don't know. I'm just picking a random one out of a hat. 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, something like that. Harman Kardon stereo system. Now that's where you pick up the quality women. Take it from Uncle Cody. To you, Uncle Ryan. Okay, that sounds kind of creepy. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Not Rich, Just Bored, episode 19. The post-WrestleMania, like I said, we'll have to wait. Mr. Ryan is busy doing his thing. He wants to do it next week, so I said, okay. But I know the real reason. He just wants to jack off in that new car. In all seriousness, though, it's a pretty sick car. I'm pretty happy for him. I'm glad he's been talking about getting a V8 for so long, and he's been putting it off, and like recessions have happened and all kinds of shit. There's always something, right? It's always like a recession or he loses his job or he switches jobs, and it's just he's always kind of been held back. So I'm gonna say on this podcast right now, congratulations, my brother. I hope you enjoy that car. I'm excited to go. I'm recording this on Wednesday, the 6th. So I'm probably going to go for Wing Wednesday, of course, because wings are fucking delicious. But we'll probably go for a little test drive after wings and stuff. So I'm excited to see how it drives compared to my, because I had a 2016 Challenger RT. So it's the same engine as this one he's got, but he said it sounds a little bit different. They've tweaked the exhaust in a certain way. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited to see what it sounds like and how it performs. So obviously the technology will be a little bit different in a lot of ways. So I had to get my van because I had kids, right? So it's just more convenient for kids for taking them around. It's a lot more convenient all around, and for hauling shit and doing all that kind of stuff. Oh, Kyle's home. I can hear him. But yeah, but I did love my Challenger. My Challenger was fucking sweet. That car was awesome. But I am kind of kicking myself for selling it at the time, because it's like not because I miss the car, even though I do, but because those cars are worth so much money right now. I sold mine for about 30,000 Canadian, and that's because nobody was buying. I started selling it at like 35, and there's just no biters, and slowly I whittled it down a little bit, 33, 32. It was probably on the market for like, I don't know, 6, 7 months at least. Like I needed to upgrade for the kids, and I had to sell as soon as possible, but there's just nobody. And there's you know how it is when you sell a car on Kijiji or anything. You get like 14 bites and then 6 no shows, and then one guy wants to fuck in the back seat and then he doesn't show up. And it's like, it's you go through all this shit and you jump through all these hoops. it's just the worst. So I finally had some guy, and he was driving from a few hours away, and he was almost fairly certain that he wanted it. So we had it all locked in, and he was, you know, he's paying cash. And I mean, you never make money on these things. A car is not an investment. A car is a fucking liability. You never make money, but you do, a car like a Challenger, or a Charger or a Jeep. There's certain cars that do retain that certain value. So you won't get what you paid for it, but at least you'll make money. It's not like a Dodge Neon or some shit like that where you buy it for whatever, 20 grand, and after you drive it off the lot, it's worth 12. And then a couple of years, it's worth 4. The Challenger does retain that value. But right now, they're out of control. Because, yeah, like I said, I sold mine desperately for 30. But nowadays, with the chip shortage from China and the war and all this bullshit, COVID, you could probably get, like, the dealership, no joke, would probably give me about 40 grand for that car. And I don't have to, do the creepy test drive or the creepy, like, thing where the guys lean around and linger for 6 hours and, tap their belt and tap their fucking fanny pack, wondering if they're going to buy it or not. And, yeah, like with a dealership, you just give it to them. Here you go. Here's the keys. Now fuck off. So it's so easy, right? But the problem with dealerships is that, yeah, they lowball you. But right now, they're so desperate for stock that they're willing to give you like above MSRP for some of this shit. It's absolutely insane. Because like my buddy got that car right now, and he was gonna private sell it for probably 17, but the dealership was like willing to give him 17.1 or something like that. So it's like it only makes sense to make that trade. It's like, like I said, you private sell it. You got to wait for Creepy Joe to come over, and then he test drives it and jerks off in the passenger seat, and then looks under the hood for 45 minutes, and then he says no. But it's like, if the dealership's willing to give you like what you could private sell for, give it to them. Throw the fucking keys at them. That actually kind of reminds me of this one guy. I dealt with this one pushy salesman one time. And fuck, did this guy annoy me? Because I had a challenge. I had my Challenger at the time, and I was looking into getting a vehicle, for the kids. So I was looking around at bigger vehicles, and originally I was looking at a Durango because I really did want the RT engine because that power is so nice, and so I was kind of looking at like Durango RTs, but the Durango RT they're so expensive. It's out of control. And like this one was older, and they wanted a lot of money for it. I can't remember exactly how much, but it was quite a bit. And this was obviously before the chip shortage. So, cars were still worth a fuck ton of money. Like it's funny that I say that because right now they're worth more, like by the standard that they're willing to pay more just because they're desperate for stock. But as far as like the actual buying price, they're not, they're pretty much par for the course. But anyways, this guy, yeah, he's being so pushy. He wanted me to get into this fucking Durango, and he's like, he's like, oh, let me check out your car. Let me check out the cars. I'll check it out, and I'll give you a value. I'll give you a value. I'm like, okay. And he takes my keys, and he's like, yeah. He's like, don't worry about these. They'll be up on the roof. They'll be up on the roof if you want them. And then like I'm like, ha ha ha, just kind of laughing. I'm like, you creepy fuck. But then he walks away, he does his thing, and he's like, yeah, so yeah, that's what we're able to do. And he gives me this fucking receipt, and it's like 22 grand. I'm like, you motherfucker, I owe 24 in the thing. I bought it for like 52. I'm not fucking selling it to you for, like, I'll owe money at the end. Are you fucking insane? And I told him beforehand that I was asking privately for, I think it was 32 at the time. And he's like, well, they gave me 22. I'm like, fuck you, scumbag. But and then I'm like, yeah, whatever. Just give me my keys. And he's like, I can't. They're on the roof. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm like, you're fucking right. You're kidding. I'm like, you know, I I'm not a big salesman guy. I'll be honest. I I shouldn't say that because I like salesmen, but when they're good salesmen, because a good salesman will get you what you want, and what you need. They'll find that middle ground. Whereas like those fucking scumbags, they just want to make a sale. They don't give a fuck what happens. And it's just like he could tell that I was a little fucking pissed because I didn't really want him. I was just looking at the Durango. I didn't really want a price on my car or anything, but he kind of insisted. So I was like, whatever, I have some time. But then he took a little bit longer than I wanted to, so I was getting a little fucking annoyed. So I was like, yeah, yeah. And then he kept that joke going. Oh, they're on the roof. I'm like, holy fuck, you're gonna be on the roof when I uppercut you, you fuck. uh, Good times at dealerships. That reminds me of another mini story that happened recently. Some uh I won't say any names, but some friend of mine, their coworker is trying to sell them uh their townhouse for because they're renting the townhouse off of them, off of their coworker, and their coworker's trying to get them to buy it right now because they don't want it anymore. So they're like, oh well, why did you buy it off us? And and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, how much does he want? And and he wanted 230 grand for this fucking townhouse. Listen, guys. If if you I don't where I live, I don't live in LA, okay? I I live in the Midwest. I don't live in New York. I live in the Midwest. A townhouse, it's one step above a trailer, which is what I live in. There's trailer, townhouse, and then house. Apartment is technically below trailer, but it's, you know, there's some apartments that are fucking nice, so they could be above townhouses. They could be anywhere on the spectrum, but my point is a fucking townhouse around our area is not worth 230 grand. Maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, yeah, I'll take that any day. But right now, are you fucking kidding me? And I don't I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but the the certain coworker of this person, like, well, the guy that's renting the house is not from Canada, we'll put it that way. So I feel like his coworker that owns the townhouse trying to sell to him is taking advantage of that a little bit. So I was glad that I was able to kind of defend him. And that's not to say he's stupid, but it's like, if you're not from a country, you might not know how much things are worth, or, that's just how it goes. Some people, listen, guys, some people are just fucking scumbags. Just like the scumbag salesman, just like the scumbag that comes and looks at your fucking Kijiji ad car for fucking 2 hours, says he'll call you back tomorrow and never does. There's just fucking scumbags that waste your time. And that's all they are. They're fucking scumbags. And you gotta just ignore those people. Anyways, so that's my beginning rant. But I had a exciting couple days recently. Uh, I was going way up to a place called Fort McMurray for work. Oh, excuse me. Uh, yeah, Fort McMurray. Those of you that aren't familiar, it's way, way up north in Alberta, and it's it's an oil town, but you know it's fun in its own way, but it's kind of creepy. I don't really like it there because the the drivers are kind of insane people. like going into that town is out of control. The speed limit is 70 kilometers an hour when you go in, but if you're going like 80, people are fucking flying past you. Like just giving it. There's no chill up there. And ugh, fucking I'm stuffed up because I had like a sneeze attack in my car on my way in. I just fucking sneezed like 8 times and now my nose feels like it's running, but it's not. When the snow melts, that happens. That fucking snow mold gets me every year. Every time the snow melts, it's like I'm just sitting there fucking coughing and sneezing like a motherfucker. And of course, you'll have that dumbass going, "Oh, COVID. He's got COVID." No, go fuck yourself. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, so Fort Mac. And up at Fort Mac, there's this place called Syncrude, which is a big oil company. They have a mine up there, blah, 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 whatever. Doesn't matter. They do a bunch of shit. I was up there doing my job, picking up some rental photocopiers. And they wanted us to go on the mine road because they were packing up their trailers. This one company. I won't drop the company's name just because it's just not polite. Anyways, I was picking up these photocopiers and yeah, they're like, yeah, you should be able to get on the mine road. And I drive a 2018 Mercedes Sprinter for work. And it's got 4x4, so that's nice, but still, this was mud bogging to a new level. And that mine road was fucking horrible. We're talking like mud up to the midsection of your tires. That deep of mud, and you're just giving her. But it's like the song, if you're going through hell, keep on going. Because if you stop at any time during that, you're gone. You're sucked in the mud, and they're gonna have to pry you out, or wait for it to dry, and then come chisel you out. But anyway, so it's it's mud. I'm mud bogging through this whole thing, and then I go through hell and almost get stuck a couple times, but luckily this baby gets through it. It's a champ. I pick up these photocopiers and it's just muddy. I'm full of mud. I look like a mud man. I'm just covered in mud because there's shit flying everywhere. Everything's covered in mud. It's gross. How many times have I said mud in the last minute? I think 18 times around there. But anyways, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is I got out of there, and then all of a sudden I get this warning light on my dash, and I'm like, oh fuck. And it's the any of you guys that have ever driven a Mercedes, it might be all of them, but the Sprinter in particular, Mercedes has all kinds of warning lights and shit that can go off, like not dash lights, but little messages in the message center. And one comes, it says battery / alternator start engine. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Because like the engine started, but like is it trying to say that the alternator's bad? The battery's bad? Like, I don't understand the guys that make these fucking. I don't understand the guys that make the messages on these fucking things. Like, even something as simple as like a check engine light, back in the day, like I think most of us know what a check engine light looks like, but and you guys might laugh at me, I don't give a fuck. But when I was a kid, I remember like I got my first car. It was a 78 Caprice Classic, but actually that doesn't even make sense because that thing didn't even have an engine light. I don't think. That thing didn't have an engine by the end. I blew that cocksucker out, but that's a story for another day. But no, it was one of my. I think it was my Grand Prix, something like that I had, and I remember my engine light came on, and at the time I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's a light up on my dash," and then the guy that I was on the phone with or whatever was like, "Well, what does it look like?" I'm like, "I don't know. It looks like a little square thing with things coming out of it." I just sounded like a fucking retard to this guy, 100%. He's just laughing on the other end, like, who the hell is this guy? And like, but like seriously, what is that symbol? Like, I know it's like supposed to be. Here, I'm gonna look up check engine light. Because yeah, I know it's I know it's supposed to be like it's oh, fuck you, Google. Google wants to know my location. Go fuck yourself. But yeah, anyways, the check engine light. It looks like yeah, like this is the one here where it's like a kind of a squarish block with the three little valve looking things coming off it, and like there's probably some mechanic out there going, well, that's a stem valve on an engine, you dumb fuck. I'm like, yeah, but to anybody that doesn't work on engines, they don't necessarily know what the hell that is. But there are some cars that actually have a light up check engine light that just says check engine. And I like that. I think that's a excuse me. I think that's a great idea. Why can't you have that? Why can't you just have just a universal symbol that says check engine like that? That'd be great. Like all these stupid symbols, they're just a little bit old school, but like I said, if you ever want to have a good time, look at a Mercedes-Benz cluster. You don't know what the hell's going on. There, even things that are as simple as lock and unlock. Like when I go to a car, how do you unlock and lock your car from the inside? You see it two buttons, and one button has a lock on it, and the other one has a lock on it, but the little lock part is tilted up. Okay, that's open. That's closed. I get it. On the Mercedes, it's like there's one light, and it like illuminates the whole back. So I'm guessing that's to unlock the back of your Sprinter, like your side door and your cargo door. And then there's like this front, and then there's this other one that unlocks all the doors. But if the light's on, it's locked. And then if you press it, the light goes off and it unlocks everything. And I'm like, why can't we just have a lock and unlock? Mercedes, hello? I don't know. I thought that was okay. But yeah, and don't even get me started on the Mercedes on their fucking AC unit, like their climate control. Holy shit. I still don't know what that thing means. Have you guys look it up? Look it up. Go to Google right now and look up Mercedes Benz Sprinter AC gauge. Is that what they call it? AC gauge? No. What would you call it? AC knob? AC knob gobbler? I don't know. Oh, there's a picture here. Jesus Christ. Coughing up a storm over here. Yeah, I don't know. I found a picture, but it doesn't really do any justice to it. But it doesn't matter. My point is, their clusters are stupid and their temperature, like the gauges. When you look at a normal gauge for like your air conditioning unit, it's got arrows where it shows the little picture of the dude in the seat. It's got little arrows that shows you where the air is blowing. And then obviously the defrost symbol is the defog, so it'll shoot on your windshield. And then there's the defog and the feet, which defogs and blows on your feet. It's all very straightforward. But Mercedes-Benz, if you look at their stupid ass cluster thing, first of all, you can switch it to like 60 different things, and they're all just mid ranges. There'll be like something, it'll show defog. I'm like, okay, that's defog, and then there'll be nothing, 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 and then there'll be like two squares, which I don't know what the fuck that means, and they'll be like click, 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 three more, and then there'll be an arrow pointing up and down, and I'm like, I'm guessing that's defogging your feet, but it still blows up the normal vents. So I don't know, guys. I'm going on a rant here, but the clusters are fucking ridiculous in these Sprinters. But anyways, the point is that alternator warning message came on, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. It came on, and then it disappeared quick. So I was like, maybe it's a glitch in the matrix. Who knows? But I kept going, kept on going about my day, said goodbye to the Sigurd guys, and away you go. And then I was out of there, and I was just 6 hour drive home, and I'm about half an hour outside of Fort Mac, and all of a sudden, and I'm in a snowstorm. I don't know why it's snowing in April. I think somebody stepped on a spider and said Jesus' name in the same fucking sentence, because I don't know. They screwed something up because it was snowing in April, and it was really sleety snow. And anybody that knows about Highway 63 going to Fort Mac, it's like all semi traffic, all big rigs on that road. So I'm just driving, and semis are shooting shit at me, and then all of a sudden that alternator message comes back on. I'm like, oh, uh-oh. And then my cruise control cuts out, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not good. And then some ABS, and then it said another warning message that was like ABS and ADS. It was some other thing, DNS or something. I don't know. MLG. It was some other message that came up too. And then all these messages started slowly appearing on my dash. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then like I said, there's big rigs shooting snow at me as I'm passing them. And then all of a sudden I lose my wipers. My wipers stop working. I can't use them anymore. I'm like, this is less than ideal. Because I am getting snow blinded here and I can't see. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to pull over. And then all of a sudden I lost acceleration. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm definitely pulling over. And then, yeah, I pulled over, and I don't know what the hell happened. It's fucking bullshit. But I'm guessing it's because of all that mud bogging we had to do. I'm guessing some mud got clogged in the. I would guess the alternator, because the alternator is what controls all that electrical shit, keeps your battery charged. So, like, technically, your battery controls all that stuff, but your battery is charged by your alternator. So, it's a logical thing to think that it would be the alternator, but I don't know. But my point is, I literally had to sit there on the side of the road, and we have a fleet management company that takes care of our work vehicles. So I phoned them, and then they took like an hour and a half to get a tow truck guy, and then the tow truck guy is gonna be 3.5 4 hours to get there because I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere, and we got to get it back to the Benz dealership because they're the only ones that can look at this fucking thing, because it's a Mercedes Benz, so basically nobody can work on them except for Mercedes Benz. So I went through all this fucking trouble, and then I literally sat there, and it was pretty cold. It was about -10 up there at the time, but it made me really appreciate like preparedness, like for situations like that. Because imagine if it was like -40, -45, and I'm stuck on the road there for like 6 hours. Holy shit, I would have froze to death. Like, like I said, I was getting pretty damn cold. Just -10 with it snowing, and it was windy as hell, so that definitely didn't help. But like I was freezing in there, and I literally had my laptop with me, my work laptop, and I just put it on the dashboard, and and I hotspotted my phone for Wi-Fi, and I just basically watched YouTube on my laptop until the tow truck came, and luckily my laptop battery did last quite a while, and thankfully I'll tell you this, guys, those power banks, um the one I have, I'm trying to remember who makes it now. Can't remember. But I got a really good deal on it. It was like, I think it's like 8,000, or no, maybe it's 10,000 milliamps, but it's a big one. It's got fast charging too. And yeah, it saved my ass there, because like my work phone and my personal phone were not fully charged. In fact, I was charging my personal phone as I was driving back, but obviously with the vehicle not working, you can't really use any of those charging electronics. So luckily, I always keep that power bank with me though, so that saved my ass there. I was able to charge my phone at least, and you know, call for help and all that shit. So I definitely recommend, if you guys don't have one of those in your car, definitely keep those power banks. They come in handy. But yeah, I just watched like some Carl Jobst videos and a bunch of other shit while I was waiting for rescue, and then wait there for hours, and then finally the tow truck comes, and then I gotta drive 3 hours with him, and oh, and I had started at 4 a.m. and by the time I got to my hotel where I was staying that night, it was 8:30 at night, and I was just done. I got to I got to the hotel. I had a bite to eat, and it was fucking hilarious because they had a pretty like bougie restaurant in this hotel. I think it was the Hilton Garden Inn or something. It's a nice hotel. Uh, Shout out to my company for doing that for me. But it was a pretty nice hotel, and the restaurant was a little bougie, you know. And there was people in there that were like on dates, and they're all dressed up in slick back hair and button up shirts, and they're all nice. And then here comes Code Man fucking strolling in with fucking mud hanging off his shoes, and ankles. My ankles are all muddy. Back of my ass is muddy. There's mud all over my shirt. I just look like a total bag of shit. I just come in the corner, and this really super nice waiter comes in and goes, and he comes up to the table. He's like, I see you dressed up tonight. And I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, and it's funny because you think after the day I'd had, I just have no patience, but I really appreciate good comedy and good timing, and that guy, his timing was impeccable, and he could tell that I've been through some sort of hell, but he just couldn't help it. And he's just laughing, and we kind of had a good laugh about it together, and so I ordered my food, and yeah, they had this phenomenal dessert there. It was like deep fried banana caramel cheesecake served with ice cream. Oh, Jesus. I'm not like I'm not even a big like deep fried cheesecake guy, but that waiter, he could tell. He's like, "You you want this tonight. You need this tonight. This is going to be fucking delicious." And I'm like, "All right, magical bald man, I will accept your invitation." And yeah, I gobbled that cocksucker down like no tomorrow, and it was well worth the money. Fucking delicious. But yeah, then I went to bed. 16 Candles was playing on AMC. I'm like, right on. Let's watch this movie. And then I got through like maybe 15 minutes, and I was just out. You ever have those sleeps where you're so tired, you're so done, you had such a long day that like literally you don't remember going to sleep, and like you wake up at like whenever, like I think I woke up originally at like 5 a.m. to take a piss, and like but like I just woke up, and I didn't know where I was. I was like looking around like, holy fuck, where the fuck am I? And then I had to like take a minute to remember where I was, because I didn't remember falling asleep. I just remembered like putting on the movie, and then just like I laid my head down for a minute, and then just boop, done. But things were not all sunshines and rainbows. And this leads me into my next rant. You guys want to know what it is? I'll tell you. My next rant is fucking breakfasts. People who serve breakfast at hotels. Just make the breakfast free, or tell people that you have to pay for it. Like, there's no in between. Just tell motherfuckers if they have to pay for breakfast. Because no, from when I checked in, the guy told me, "Oh, there's breakfast over here in the morning." Okay, he didn't say anything about paying. And then I went down for breakfast this morning, and because I'm used to them being free, I've never paid for breakfast in my life at a hotel. They're always fucking continental, whatever the hell you call them. You know, you grab your sausage patties, you get the fuck out of there. And I went down to get this breakfast, and I went over there, and you had to like, there was a bunch of stuff out like yogurt and the pancake maker, the waffle maker, and all that shit. It was all normal like that, like what you'd see at your average hotel. And I'm like, oh, there's no bacon and eggs or hash browns or anything. And then, but they're made to order or whatever. There's like a kind of a chef back there. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, she's, so the guy's like, oh, what do you want? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe just some bacon. I didn't have a lot of time. So I was like, maybe just some bacon, and, I'll take the yogurt and stuff to my room, and I'm making a waffle already. I'm like, that'll be good enough for me. And then, we went through that whole motion of doing that, and he got my bacon. And then she's like, oh, sir, oh, where are you going to sit? I'm like, oh, I was just going to take it back to my room. And she's like, oh, do you want it charged to your room? And I'm like, what? I'm like, you got to pay? And I'm like, wait, you got to pay? And she's like, yes, sir. I'm like, nobody told me you got, I'm like, nobody told me you had to pay for this. Like, there's no signs, there's no nothing. The guy when I checked in, like, nobody said it was paid for, or sorry, nobody said it was free or wasn't free or anything. They just said breakfast in the morning, which to me means free. And then she's like, no. She's like, you have to pay for it. I'm like, well, how much? And she's like, $18. I'm like, 18 fucking dollars? Holy fuck! I can go get a full breakfast at Denny's for cheaper than that. You fucking slimy bastards. So I like looked at the chef. I'm like, fucking load that plate up. Not just bacon. I want bacon, eggs, hash browns, your firstborn fucking child. I better get everything on that motherfucker if I'm paying $18. So I stuffed like a couple banana breads in my pockets. I fucking shoved some Daninos in my backpack. I'm like, fuck you guys. Fucking pissed me off. Like, $18, that's pretty fucking expensive. Considering, like I said, when you go to like Wyndham, like Wyndham, they own like everything. They own every fucking hotel in the world. But anytime I stay at like a Super 8 by Wyndham or anything like that, they always have that free breakfast. And it's better or the same as this breakfast that these guys had. It's the fucking pre-made waffle thing where you pour the goddamn sauce in there, you turn the stupid thing on, and then 3 minutes later you have a waffle. It's kind of cool, but you have that, and then they have little hot plates of eggs and bacon, or sometimes sausage patties. Sometimes, if you're really lucky, they'll have the skillets, which are really nice. But, and then hash browns. And that's how it is. And then they have muffins and whatever. And I always go to those, and I always fucking load the fuck up, and I go and eat in my room, and then when I go to check out, maybe I'll shove a muffin up my ass or something, just for good measure. But, like, it's all free. And I don't know, it's average food. It's nothing special, but when I get a free breakfast, that makes me more inclined to stay at that hotel. But I don't know, that's just me. I think it's a nice touch, especially with the rates of hotel rooms as they are. But like this one, like even if it was a paid breakfast, it was like $10. $10 would be like respectable, but 18 fucking dollars. And you know what happened afterwards? It asked for a tip, and I'm like, oh, absolutely fucking not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a cheap fuck. Well, it's not true. I know I'm a cheap fuck, but it's just, I don't know. I thought $18 was a bit much, and I'm sure there's gonna be some rich chat out there watching this podcast going like $18. My Eggs Benny at the Four Seasons is $800. Well, guess what? I'm an average citizen. You could say I'm not rich, just bored. Oh, that would have been a good way to end the podcast right there. Fuck, I would love that. But yeah, I don't. That was that was my exciting last couple days, just dealing with bullshit and getting stranded, and then you know, hopefully they can have my work vehicle back to me soon. Mercedes, they're cracking the code, they're working on it, but it in some ways I'm kind of I'm not happy because it was fucking horrible, but it's good that they're fixing things up, and then they're also doing the maintenance that you got to do on it every 30K, and they're you know the oil change and the blue tech and all that stuff they have to do with those stupid diesel ones, and DEF and all that stuff, and then also I got them to hopefully fix the emblem that the former driver was a dipshit. I don't know how you know what? I could see a front collision, a side collision, anything like that. Like, there's a lot of things I could see breaking off a vehicle and an antenna, but how the fuck do you break the rear emblem? In the middle of the rear barn doors, there's a Mercedes emblem, and he broke that off somehow. I'm like, you're a fucking magician. How'd you do that? Like, it just makes no sense. So I was like, can you guys find that? Because it really fucking annoys me that is missing. This vehicle is like almost mint, except for that, and there's some dents on the front, which are getting fixed at the body shop soon. But that's because the fucking former driver was a retard, and he was literally trailing a gravel truck. He's like, yeah, the gravel truck he was just throwing rocks at me, and it's just, yeah, broke the hell out of the windshield and dented up the front bumper, and broke the grill, and dented up the hood. And I'm like, I got an idea. Slow the fuck down. Maybe. Like, if you notice a guy's throwing rocks at you, maybe don't follow him. Back off. Pass him. Like, you dumb fucking Canuck. Just trailing this guy that's fucking beating the shit out of my vehicle. And that's one thing. And it's funny because it's actually a conversation I had with the tow truck driver on the way back. We had a lot of time. We actually became pretty good friends. I got his Instagram. No, I didn't, but I did get his business card. But yeah, shout out to Highway 63 Towing. You guys are the GOAT. Thank you for getting me out of that jam. I appreciate it. If you guys are ever in Alberta area and need a tow, call those boys. But yeah, we were talking about how the idea of work vehicles, of how guys tend to treat them, and he was talking about how he's a lot like me, because I was saying how, like, I always treat my work vehicles like, because especially with the job I have now, because I spend so much goddamn time behind the wheel, that you better treat that thing like gold. That thing pays your bills. That is my office. Like, that's how I treat it. Excuse me. That's how I treat it. I treat it like that's my because it's my mobile office, and I spend a lot of hours every day in it. So I don't want it looking like a fucking pigsty. And that's always the one thing that annoyed me about, going on vacation, or having somebody else drive it while I'm not around, because, like, nobody fucking, most guys just don't give a fuck, especially if it's not their vehicle. They'll just put garbage everywhere. They'll let it get dusty and dirty. They'll never wash it. And it's just, it really is fucking annoying. And I like to personally keep my stuff, because, don't even think about it as the work vehicle. Like, I mean, you should, right? Like, the company's letting you drive that vehicle. You should treat it good. But just even have some self-respect, Treat it like treat it like it's your vehicle. Like, you look like a fucking loser driving around this filthy fucking wagon, and like this was our previous driver had this when I had the big cube van, which I had to give up to our new warehouse where we're distributing it out of. So I had to downsize into a nicer vehicle though. But I got the smaller one, which is a Sprinter, but the old driver, like, he just treated it like a bag of shit. He didn't get the fucking maintenances done. He didn't get the oil changes done. There was fucking cigarette ashes in it. There was paper strewn about. There was garbage everywhere. It was fucking horrible, guys. It was fucking disgusting. And I've seen that so many times in the oil field and sorry, the recording cut out there by accident. But yeah, like I said, I've seen it everywhere, guys. Like, I've seen it in the oil field. I've seen it in, like, the oil field's a big one because they got, like, oh my god, I used to do windshields for a living, and the shit I have seen on crew trucks would make a grown man cry. Like, just like grease on the seats, caked, like almost an inch of dust on the dash, tools everywhere, clusters fucked up, things cracked, like no fucking respect, you know? And it's like, this truck that you're driving around represents you and your company. Show some respect. Like, honestly, if I owned a company and I noticed that guys weren't taking care of their trucks, I would just take it away or fire them. I'd just be like, you know what? No, if you can't respect the truck or, you know, car, whatever you have, then you don't belong here. Because, sorry, I'm coughing up a storm. I don't know why. But like, and I know there are some companies out there that they they are pretty good with their fleets, and I've seen a few of them that are usually clean, and they have like weekly inspections where the guys will go around and check and make sure make sure they clean their dash, make sure there's no garbage. And I think that's kind of good. It holds people accountable because, there's some people that are just fucking gross and they really don't care about their vehicle. And I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get how people can live like that. And me and the tow truck driver were kind of, we agreed on that because he was telling me a story about how other guys would drive his tow truck when he was away, or he was driving a different tow truck because they have like the flatbeds for the big guys, and then they have the wreckers for just hauling with the little crane thing. And yeah, guys would borrow his truck, and then he'd come back and there'd just be garbage everywhere. Like, that's the worst. That's the worst, is when you're actually borrowing somebody was nice enough to let you borrow their vehicle while they're away, and you actually have the audacity to like treat it like shit and return it all fucked up. Like, I could not do that. Like, it's just not within my soul. Maybe it's because I have a little bit of respect. I don't know, but it blows my mind how fucking disrespectful people are with vehicles. And I understand the whole mentality. The mentality is that, well, it's not mine. I don't own it. But it's like, you know what though? You have to drive it. And the reality is, especially during COVID and during these hard months, do you think if you're, whatever you have, like most of those trucks are $100,000 close to, you think the company's just going to be like, oh yeah, Fred wrecked his truck, we're going to buy him a brand new one just because he's a stand-up dude? No, you're going to have to drive that bag of shit. And if it's fucked up, well, that's on you. And guess what? The more times it has to go to the shop because you neglected maintenances and shit, then, well, guess what? You're not going to be getting paid while it's in the shop. So, like I said, there's freak accidents like what happened to me. And then there's just like negligence. which is what happens when people don't take care of their vehicles, when people don't, when people don't, don't do the maintenances, all that kind of stuff. It's just fucking stupid. And there's another story about how we had another driver. This is before my time, but it was a story that was told to me, and she was driving my old big truck, which was an Isuzu NPR, and she actually, this was during the summer, not winter, like a plus 25 day, and she fucking hit the ditch and hit a road sign, and I totally fucked the vehicle up, all because she was eating spits. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're eating spits. That's gotta be the worst fucking food imaginable to be eating while you're driving. Like, most people aren't focused enough to eat while they're driving, let alone eating a food that you have to spit out, shell, then eat, then throw the shell away. But, oh, yeah. Hilarious story, but very cringeworthy. But yeah, so this basically been a big complainers episode about vehicles and recent events. But that's good. Sometimes it's good to vent about those things and get them out, because that's life. Sometimes you gotta be. Sometimes you get stranded on the side of a highway for hours and you gotta wait for rescue. So I guess my lesson to you guys today is always make sure you have some emergency equipment, because yeah, like I said, I was freezing and it was only like close to -10 with the snow and stuff and the wind. So, and I was getting pretty fucking cold after hour 5, and after about hour 5 I was pretty chilly in the legs. I was good up top because I had a coat on and a hat and stuff. But yeah, my lower section, I actually ended up putting on 2 pairs of socks, which was hilarious. But it definitely helped my feet keep warm. But yeah, definitely keep an emergency kit in your car at all times, because you never know, especially on long trips. It never hurts to be prepared, because you never know how long that tow truck's gonna be. They could be fucking half an hour. They could be several hours. Depends on how busy they are, and depends on where you are. But yeah, I guess I'll close. I'm gonna close it out on a positive note, because I think that's a. I think I've had some funny stories, but I've also had, it's a little bit of a negative vibe, you know. I need to start rubbing some obsidian crystals or something, get my guju up. but but yeah, I guess I'll end it on a positive note. And this is ascertaining to my buddy Ryan, uh, the co-host of the podcast normally, but he's a traitorous swine today. Just kidding, I love you, man. But it does relate to him, because that the guy that sold him the car, um, he's a good buddy of ours. Like, he's not, we don't hang out, but I just know him. He's one of those guys that and you see him in public and you're like, hey, I love that dude. He's good. But yeah, his name's Barry. I'll just say his first name, but he's I just kind of wanted to give, I don't know, it's not like a little shout out slash, I don't know, just like it's almost like a thank you. I don't know how to put it. I'm gonna jerk him off for the next 5 minutes. Just kidding. But no, I don't know. I just wanted to, I guess what I'm trying to say is, there's not a lot of, especially in the sales game and stuff, but there's not a lot of genuine, like, human beings, like him around. And it's just, I think it's so good and it's so important to have people like that around, because he's just a very, I don't know, he's a very positive guy. And I used to work with him in retail. We both worked at a Best Buy together, and well, it was Future Shop at the time, but they got bought out by Best Buy. But yeah, me and Ryan both worked with him there, and he was just like a super cool dude, and like his energy was always unreal. He was just one of those guys like it was impossible. It didn't matter if your mother died. It didn't matter if a fucking crackhead stabbed your girlfriend. Like if Barry was working, if you were around him, you were smiling. You were having a good time. And that was just the truth. Like I don't know what it was. He just had a really positive energy. And it was just like I don't know. He just radiated that certain, as kids are saying, positive vibe, and he really is just he was always he was always just a genuinely nice guy, and he always wanted to make sure he took care of you, not just like your coworkers, but your customers, like everybody. He was always just like he talked to everybody. He made sure everybody was included. If there's a big group of people, he would, somebody who's being quiet or they're in the corner, he'd kind of drag them in, be like, hey, hey, you're part of the circle too. It's and it's guys like that that are literally so inspirational. They inspired me. Like like when I talked to him or you were around him, you would feel inspired. You're like oh, like Barry's here. I gotta kick it up a notch because I'm like I just feel like I am nowhere near as nice as he is, and I'm pretty fucking nice. But like he just like he makes you want to be better. He's just like that kind of nice guy, and he genuinely wants to. He doesn't. He doesn't approach sales. That's why I was saying like the old scumbag sales game. He's the exact opposite in his new job. He doesn't want to be a scumbag salesman. He's not the type of guy that wants to sell you an extended warranty just to get an extended warranty on it. He's the type of guy that he he'll offer the extended warranty, for free if he thinks you need it. If it's an older vehicle or something like that, he gets you what you need while taking into consideration what you want. You know, he's not one of those guys like, yeah, yeah, let's go, let's get the biggest, fastest, newest car. No, it's like he'll get you what you want and he'll give you a hell of a deal. And it's just like people like that. There's a reason. So there's a chip shortage right now, like I said earlier. So dealerships, they don't have a lot of stock. You look around all the retailers that are selling like the dealerships, you'll see they're pretty scarce. But the funny thing is, in my town, there's one dealership that isn't very scarce, and that's Barry's dealership. And I think part of that is because of him, because he knows how to treat people. He knows it's not a bullshit game. People don't want the sleazy salesman. People don't want that fucking slick dude that's going to get you what you want all the time, exactly what you want. You know? He's the type of guy that's going to get you what you need based on what you want. And he's going to be honest about it. You know? And he's going to give you a fair price for whatever you're trading in. And it's just, and like I said, I worked with him in the past, and my last like 3 or 4 vehicles I have all gotten through him or through an associate of his that's working under him, because I don't mind giving my business there because I know that that's a real dude, you know? And there's a lot of fakes. There's a lot of fake people that could fake shit, but I don't know. Something about him, it's not fake. You can tell when it's real. There's certain human beings that genuinely care about other human beings, and I don't know, he's one of them. And I think I just wanted to give him kind of a little shout out here on the podcast because I just thought that was excellent, and I'm actually really happy that he got a great deal for my buddy, because this car has been a dream of my buddy's for. You know, like Ryan, it's been his dream forever. And you guys know that. You guys will know that because next podcast he'll probably be jerking off about it. Actually, I don't know if he's gonna listen to this one, but let's all place a bet right now. Uh, and I don't know. Let's call it 1 Bitcoin each. Just kidding. Okay, 1 Dogecoin. No, 1 Shiba Inu. But yeah, I'll bet you guys 10 Shiba Inu that on the next episode of the podcast, the first thing Ryan says is, "Oh my God, my new car is the best." But yeah, I don't know. I hope that was entertaining for you guys. That's all I really had to say today. I don't really have a bunch. It was just kind of that awkward couple days, and the WrestleMania thing was awesome. And I will talk about that next week with Ryan. And so I'm sorry if you guys were expecting the WrestleMania podcast, the post WrestleMania podcast, but we'll do it next week and we'll talk about it. So because I promised I would talk about it to Carboy, but let's keep that let's keep that bet between us, and hopefully um and hopefully we win that bet. I don't know who's betting who, but the winner it's all fun. Fuck it, you guys know that. But yeah, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening, whatever you're doing. Technically, there's nothing to watch, but it is available on YouTube. But thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to follow the podcast on all social media, links in the description, as well as follow me on. You can follow my YouTube at Code Manliness, or you could do me on Twitch. Yeah, you can do me hard. My Twitch is Code Manliness as well. And you can follow the Houster, _Houster on YouTube and Twitch. But I wouldn't recommend it because, it's kind of a dick. Just kidding. Peace out, guys.